So if you've been following my Road to 600 vlog series, then you know that I'm working towards a 600-pound deadlift, and you also know that as of 2 weeks ago, I cleared a 517-pound all-time 1-rep max. Now, that's obviously a little bit of a ways out from 600, but to clarify, I'm calculating out in every single rep range, 10 reps and under, to between 529 and 532 pounds respectively. Basically, that means whether it's a 10 rep max, a 7, a 9, a 3, a 2, all of them work out with a calculated rep max to about 530 some odd pounds, give or take. Now this is kind of how I like to work, is to get those numbers to equate to a high output, and then I like to pull a conservative single to kind of mitigate my risk of injury. I want to lift until I'm 100, 110 years old. I don't want to blow my back out at 25 and not be able to lift for many years to come. Because I'm not in a huge rush, this allows me to prioritize weak points as I go along in my own training journey. Now, over the next period, I'm hoping to build that estimated 1-rep max up to about 540, maybe even 545 pounds. And then what I would like to do is pull about a 521 pounds. Now, with a little bit of interest festering in this pursuit of a moderate strength goal, quite a few people have inquired as to what changes I'm making on a block-to-block basis, and I usually respond to those just via text or messenger or whatever social media platform we may be communicating on. But I figured I'd do a quick video relative to this next 4-week training block and exactly what changes I've made and what I hope they lead to in terms of progressive outcomes in my training. So one of the interesting things is that 2 of the changes I made to increase my deadlift were actually made on upper body day. That's not even accurate. 3 of the changes I made in this current training block will hopefully contribute to progressions on my lower body day. So when it comes to deadlifting, grip strength and pulling power off the floor are big contributing factors to pulling big numbers. Now, for me personally, I've always struggled to initiate the pull off the ground. That's been one of my weak points mentally. So regardless of whether my lockout is stronger or my pull off the floor is stronger at any given time in my programming, it's always a mental game for me to get the bar off the ground and feel confident doing it. Another contributing factor is grip strength or endurance when holding the bar. Both of those impact greatly, especially when doing higher rep range work such as 5, 6, 7 reps on a deadlift, which is not something you might normally do, but it does drive progressions over time. And if you can't hold the bar, even with straps, if you don't have that crushing power on the bar, you're gonna struggle to keep the bar under control. So here are the 3 changes I made to my upper body days that I'm really hoping contribute to my ability to not only crush the bar and control it with a greater degree of confidence, but further to get that bar off the ground with a little more confidence as well. So one of the first changes I made was I introduced a thick grip pull down variation on my upper body volume day. So I'm using, wow, that's a great marker. I'm using a great marker here. We're gonna need a new one. You would think I learned from some of my past videos. So the thick grip bar is a pull down variation. I'm doing this grip with the palms facing me the entire time, and it's basically a close grip pull down, just using a unique attachment. Now, because of the thickness of the bar, at no point in the exercise can I slack with my grip. I have to squeeze that implement as hard as possible. So this is developing all the little tiny muscles of my hand, it's improving strength in my forearms, and it's contributing to my development of crushing power on the bar. So when I transition back to a normal diameter bar, I can keep a strong grip throughout my entire set of deadlifts with a little more efficiency, or that is the end goal, of course. So introducing this thick grip pull down, the idea here is to improve grip strength and, of course, develop crushing power in the hands. Both of those are quite similar, but just slightly different in terms of outcome. Not only the ability to crush the bar and squeeze as tightly as possible, but further the ability to grip heavier loads over time. Both of these are going to help with my deadlift. The second change I made on upper body day, which was probably a little bit strange in terms of decisions, was introducing high rep rack pulls. And this is something I've never done, ever. Now I'm looking for 3 major progressions when it comes to incorporating the rack pulls in the program. The first one being grip strength endurance, because I'm incorporating these for higher rep sets, 15 to 20 reps, 12 to 15 reps, etc. The goal is not to go below 8 reps during this programming block. So, grip endurance is huge. The ability for me to hold on to those heavier loads for long periods of time. If on a heavier pull I'm stuck holding onto that bar, I don't want to miss the rep because I dropped it at some point, which is tough to do with straps on, but it's still possible. Of course, this increased grip endurance will also translate into increased crushing power and grip strength. They all kind of go hand in hand, pun intended. I'm also looking for improved lockout endurance and trap development. So on those higher rep sets of deadlifts, getting those lockouts over time can get a little bit sticky. And I personally find for myself that my traps are underdeveloped relative to other parts of the body. Now, my lats and mid-back I feel are quite strong, but certain movements like upright rows and dumbbell upright rows and just pulling exercises in general, I feel if I had better developed traps, I would excel to a much higher degree, and they've been neglected because honestly I've never really worked on my traps at all until maybe the past 6 or 8 months, and I found it to be hugely progressive, relative to how good my neck feels. Comparatively, my neck used to feel so sore and stiff after heavy pulls. Now I rarely feel any discomfort unless of course I fall asleep with my head on the side of the couch, or in a weird position with my arm underneath my head throughout the night. Finally, with the rack pulls, I'm looking for lower back endurance. Wow, that does not look like neat writing at all. That says lower back endurance plus hypertrophy, or muscular development, if you will. So I want my lower back muscles to get bigger and stronger and be able to handle stress under load for longer periods of time. This will help if I have a grinder of a rep at any point so that I can hold a safe spine position. The third exercise that I've introduced on my upper body days that I'm hoping will carry over and contribute to my lower body intensity days is the pendule row, with minimal emphasis on the put down to the floor. So basically, I'm focused on exploding off the floor with as much weight as I possibly can. Now, under normal circumstances, the pendule row is controlled back down to the floor, but I'm trying to develop that explosive strength that will carry over efficiently to the pull off the ground from a dead stop on that initiation of a heavy deadlift. Knowing as much, I'm programming it in the 4 to 8 rep range. Might even bring it down to the 3 rep range on the final week of this training block, and I'm focusing on increasing the load. Now, I'm not allowing my form to fall apart. It is still done with strict form, but again, the controlling portion back down to the floor, controlling that negative part of the lift itself, is not my priority in this training block. The goal here is to have a strong carryover to my explosiveness off the floor. When pulling those max effort deadlifts. So interestingly enough, in this programming block, the 3 major changes that I made were actually on upper body days, yet the intent is for them to impact my output on my max effort or lower body intensity day at the latter end of the week. This is why I felt it would be a good idea to kind of share this stuff, because most people wouldn't assume that I would be programming things into an upper body training session with the intent for it to impact lower body output. Now with this being the first week of this training block, I can tell you that I did pull a top end deadlift of 425 pounds for a set of 7 today. So the numbers are really starting to get up there. I also bailed underneath a barbell squat on the 7th rep. I wasn't able to finish it, but I'm guessing that was likely a byproduct of the fact that I reintroduced lunges this week into my programming, and my glutes were still a solid 6 out of 10 sore getting under the bar this morning. I was able to clear all the back off sets, and up until the 7th rep I was fine on rep 6, but I just didn't have that ability to grind through the final rep on squats. So I did miss my top end set of squats, but the pulls all went according to plan. So that's good so far, but it's early in the game to determine whether or not this is proving progressive. So we'll be able to better see in about 3 weeks based off of the outcomes. As is one of my favorite sayings from Louis Simmons, a personal best in the gym is not just an achievement, but also the only proof of correct training. So the only way we'll be able to tell is if we get a progressive yield on week 4.